What's that one thing your parents did that made you realize fighting them wasn't worth it anymore? My parents told me I could choose any major I wanted, as long as it was pre-med, pre-law, or engineering. They'd already told everyone I was going to be a doctor. Growing up Chinese meant education wasn't just important, it was everything. My parents cleaned hospitals and drove Uber for 60 hours a week just so I could have a shot at the American dream. They'd show me their pay stubs sometimes, both of them together barely clearing $65,000, and tell me from as young as 7 about how they saved every penny for my college fund. "We clean hospitals so you can run them" became their favorite saying. The thing is, I never wanted to be a doctor, because when I was 13, something happened that changed everything. My uncle, who everyone loved and trusted, did something to me during a family visit. I couldn't walk normally for weeks. My parents kept asking what was wrong with me and why I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning when I finally told them, but they didn't believe me. Not only that, my dad actually slapped me and said, "This is how you thank our sacrifice for you." I was then forced to apologize to my uncle publicly during the next family dinner. I felt broken, especially when my parents told me that despite my lies, they would still dedicate their life to helping me become successful. The only person who noticed something was wrong was my school counselor. She saved my life with those weekly sessions we disguised as college prep meetings. Fast forward to senior year, and my parents sat me down with an actual spreadsheet. Doctor meant $300,000 a year, lawyer meant $200,000, engineer meant $150,000. They wanted me to pick, but I had other ideas. I mentioned psychology, and they literally laughed at me. "That's just pre-med without the money," my mom said, while my dad calculated how their sacrifice would be worth nothing if I only made $40,000 as a therapist. I knew this was a losing battle, so I played along. I took all the pre-med prerequisites, but secretly added psychology classes as electives. I'd hide my psych textbooks under my biology ones like some kind of academic contraband. At night, I volunteered at a crisis hotline and told my parents it was hospital volunteering. Everything exploded when I got accepted to both a clinical psychology program with a partial scholarship and a pre-med program. My parents found my personal statement where I wrote about my middle school guidance counselor and wanting to help traumatized teens. They also discovered my crisis hotline work wasn't hospital volunteering. The confrontation was brutal. They yelled at me that I was a disgrace to them, and I finally told them about how they made me feel my whole life, like my only purpose was to live out their dream, not mine. I remember going on a 30-minute monologue by the end of which I was sobbing, and for the first time in my life I saw it, a flicker of understanding in their eyes, but of course that didn't last. After about 10 minutes of guilt and shock, they pivoted right back to my career concerns, telling me what happened to me was sad and all, but there are more important things to discuss right now. I was so baffled I just left the room. When I officially chose psychology, they went nuclear. They withdrew all financial support immediately. They canceled my phone plan and removed me from their car insurance. The college fund they'd saved for 20 years was in their name, so they just emptied it. The worst part was when they told relatives I was having a mental health breakdown. I tried to defend myself, but nobody listened to a word. I became the girl who threw 20 years of parental sacrifice down the drain. I remember them coming to me one night asking if I would switch to studying medicine, and when I said no, that was their final straw. They kicked me out that day. I was officially homeless. It stayed that way for 3 weeks before I found a moldy dorm to stay in. Unfortunately, it wasn't much better. I was still so poor I couldn't afford a duvet, and I was regularly choosing between buying textbooks or buying food. My grades started slipping very quickly, and I found an eviction notice on my door. I actually sat down to switch to pre-med one night just to avoid being homeless again. That's when a miracle happened. My old guidance counselor saw me begging for change outside a Walgreens. I lived about an hour away from my old town by this point. When I first saw her, every part of me wanted to just tell her I was fine. But when she took my hand and asked me what was wrong in the exact same way she did when I was 13, I couldn't keep it in. And before I knew it, I was breaking down like a baby telling her everything. She was horrified. So horrified, in fact, she offered to take me in. She said she lived with her 2-year-old nephew. Nobody else, so there was plenty of space. I can't even explain how thankful I was. It's thanks to her that I am where I am now. I just finished my psychology degree and became a licensed therapist. I help people who are just like I was. My parents never even attended my graduation. They might even think I'm dead, and I actually like it that way. Screw them and their neurosurgeon dreams.